right? That's what I'm hearing in my head. Don't jump, ride the plane down. Don't jump, right? And I I ignored it, right? And then all of a sudden they start jumping, and as they're jumping, I'm sliding down the bench, and then I get to the door. I'm the last one on the plane, and is my last chance would be right now to not jump, you know?
Right.
And I'm out the door, and I go right into my wingsuit pattern, and the suit was faster, you know, and that was okay though. But since it was short, I had a steeper angle, so I was going really fast, you know. So I was going fast on top of fast, you
Like,
know.
what do you say? Like 30 miles per hour or like 50 miles? Like, how fast were
I
you
think
flying?
I think when I
Like,
pulled my parachute, I was probably going like, you know, 60, 70, maybe
holy,
even more. You know, I
holy,
was moving. You know, some of
that's
these guys go over 100 miles an hour, man. They're
holy.
like
So you're
top level
flying.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could hear it, like, you know, it's like you ever see the movies with the astronauts and you like their helmets shaking and everything?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And their
this is what's
faces
going
are,
on. And
yeah.
you're like, you know, it's incredible though. You know, I gotta tell
Holy,
you, like
yeah.
yeah,
See,
it's really great. It's such a, you know, so I'm going and everything's going great, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is really turning out to be a great jump, you know. It's early in the morning and you know, it's beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. And so my altimeter, my helmet starts to beep, you know, and it's this is telling me like, you know, I set mine higher, you know, because I didn't really know the area. So I wanted a lot of time to, you know, to be higher to make it back to the airport, you know.
right.
So mine was beeping at 6,500 feet,
And
you know.
that
So
tells you it's
normally,
time, the beeping.
yeah, so it's time to slow down, you know, it's so high. Normally it gets set like 4,500 feet. So mine was set that much higher just so I could make sure I'd slow down enough, you
Right,
know, and no
right.
problems, right? So it starts beeping. And as soon as I deployed my parachute, I think like you didn't slow down enough, you know, because I didn't take into account the new suit. He was faster, but it didn't fit right. So I was going on a different angle. So I didn't factor all that in. It's
Right.
all really technical, right? You know, and
Yeah.
so man, it's like, and I knew as soon as as soon as I let go and my canopy hits the wind and boom, it opens instantly, right? Like,
So that
ow.
force is like a sharp stop. It's almost like getting hit by a car, right? Or
Oh,
something like,
yeah.
oh, like,
You know, because our canopies, they're designed to open slowly, right? Sometimes they'll take up to 10 seconds to open, you know, and you're watching it and you're like, is this thing going to open or what? You know, but it's
yeah.
nice and slow, you know? And when it opens fast, man, you know, it just, my head snaps back and I hear the crunch of my neck. I hear it
Holy.
break, you know, it's like, you know, crunch, you know? And on my GoPro, like if you listen really, really closely, you'll hear me like, oh, you know, you hear it, you know?
Right.
So, uh, but what it was though, like, you know, I felt it, I heard it, but then all of a sudden I felt this electrical charge from my neck just go down my body. And as it went down, my body went limp, you know? And it
Wow.
just all
So
the way to
you
my
felt
toes.
it kind of your body shutting down essentially.
Yeah. You know, as it went down, that's how I went limp, you know?
Holy
And I was
shit.
like, and I just remember thinking, like, no way, you know, this isn't happening, you know, because you know, like I was at that jump number where, you know, it sounds like a lot of jumps, and kind of is, but you're talking like some of these guys have, you know, 5, 10,000 jumps, you know.
Right.
So to me, I was at that number where it's not that I was cocky, but I was confident in the sense where, all right, I got a reserve parachute. I can pretty much handle anything that happens. I'll just go to my reserve, you know, cut away the main canopy, go to my reserve and be done.
Right.
Who would ever think that you'd break your neck
Break your
and
neck
be
under
paralyzed?
one. Yeah. Holy. And
Yeah.
while
So
you're
you know,
flying,
because
yeah, while you still haven't even landed yet. Like,
yeah, I'm still a mile high, you know,
yeah.
uh, and I can't move, right? So, you know, and the way at first it's like it's so overwhelming because like you're a mile high. All you see, I'm in North Carolina, so all I see is pine trees, right? You know, there's nothing but trees, a couple
Right.
lakes, and I'm like, I'm screwed, right? You know what I mean? Like I can't grab my toggle, so I can't steer or slow down at the end, right?
Holy shit. So
So
you're
there's
floating
like,
helpless right now.
yeah, at a mile high, right? So, your initial reaction is like, okay, that's it, I'm done, I'm gonna die, right? And you got 5 minutes to think about it, right? Because that's how long it's gonna take you before you hit the ground, you know?
Oh my
So
God. So 5 minutes, you know at this point, you know that you're limp, that you can't move, that you're paralyzed. And I assume you're trying to move, but you just can't. And
yeah.
what prevents you from panic or freaking out, or did you? I mean,
Well, I actually didn't because what happened was I initially gave up, right? Thinking, all right, well, I'm just gonna, there's nothing I can do. I'm gonna die, right? So I
oh
went
my,
from that to, your life, they say your life flashes before your eyes, right?
yeah,
And it does. I thought about my wife, my kids, my dogs, right? Everything, all that. And it happens really fast. It's all like your brain has the ability to think a real lot fast, like it's going to take no more than 5-10 seconds, all these in your head, right?
right,
So going through all of this, I said, all right, well, no way. I'm not going to just going to float off. I'm not just going to go float off in the woods and not do anything. I can't,
right.
I got to do something, right? But what can you really do? So thinking about all this in your head, and again, it's all fast. I figured it out that, there's nothing I can do. I'm going to die no matter what because I have a broken neck. And since I can't slow down, because we always land into the wind and that helps us
Right.
slow
Yeah, you're
down,
just
right?
helplessly landing.
Yeah. And so I'm just floating. I'm at the mercy, right? So I know that I can't, there's nothing I can do that's going to make me live. But, I'm having this like crazy thought in my head of landing in like this vast forest out there in North Carolina and getting hung up in a tree, right?
Right.
And living and being alive, but paralyzed, and no one able to find me, right? And like, and the birds and the squirrels pecking at me and eating me alive, and there's nothing I can do about it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I just think to myself, I got to do something to get close to the airport, so at least someone can find my body, at least, right?
Right. Holy
And
shit.
so and the reason why I didn't think I was going to live because I did the calculations in my head. My canopy flies like between 27 and 30 miles per hour, right? You put like a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind at my back, I'm going to hit the ground at 30, 40 miles an hour.
And
But
helpless.
with
You
a
can't
broken
even
neck,
stop yourself. Yeah, you can't stop yourself or embrace. You just gonna slam
nothing.
right into the ground.
Yeah. So the first thing he's going to hit is my feet. And then the next thing is going to be my head. And how could I survive that with a broken neck? There's no way,
Holy
right?
shit. So this is all going
So,
through your mind as you're falling.
yeah.
God, the terror
So,
is
but
terrifying.
I remembered that I maybe 50 jumps earlier, I had learned how to steer my canopy using my body weight, right? And I could move my head. So, and I had a little bit of movement in my left hand, which was weird, right? I could still, now being that I was in that wingsuit, it was almost like a sail, right? So by me moving my head and getting that little movement in my left hand, I was able to make like 360-degree turns, right?
Wow.
Which was good because um, I was burning off the altitude. So I wouldn't pass the airport. I would end up landing close to it, right? Because I was just doing these circles, right?
So you're
So
coming down. Oh, okay.
yeah, so like, the wind was pushing me towards the drop zone. That's the one thing like I always planned too. I always planned to open my parachute with the wind on my back, just in case, say like I deploy my parachute and it's all tangled up, right? And so I got to cut it away and go to my reserve. Well, I don't want to lose that canopy, right? So, when you're wingsuiting, we try to land with the wind at our back. This way, the canopy will float somewhere towards the airport. We'll probably be able to find it.
Right. Yeah.
So I knew that that wind was going to float me towards the airport, but I was going to be too high. I was going to end up passing it and just ending up in the trees. So by making the turns, I knew I was going to be able to stay close, right? So, but that was all I could hope for, really. But the good thing was, though, it was enough for me to concentrate and try to stay disciplined and do that, so my mind wouldn't wander off somewhere else.
So you wouldn't
Because if you
freak
really
out.
start to think about
Right.
it, exactly, right? Because how do you not, right?
Right.
Uh, so,
So even
and
though
then,
you're
there's a lot.
expecting, like, even though you're in your mind, you think, all right, it's very odd chances that I survive this, but I'm not going out without a fight. I'm gonna do what I got to do to cushion the fall or fall in the right place, not get caught up in trees. So you're trying to avoid dangers. You have the wherewithal
Right.
to do that, where a lot of other people might just be full on panic mode and just who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, and I credit, like, being in the Marine Corps, and being with the police work, because I went to two police academies. So all
Right.
these, to me, I was more like goal oriented than thinking about how bad my situation was.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and the thing too, though, is like everything, and looking back, and this is what got me through the hospital, because when you look at everything that happened to me, everything bad that happened was countered by something good that happened, right?
Right.
And you don't really see it at the time, but when you look back, you're like, wow. So the fact that I didn't, like, just let myself float off and end up in somewhere. And I tried to make it back toward the airport. So when I eventually did hit the ground, I ended up right across the street from the drop zone.
Oh
You
wow.
know, I ended up in the guy's backyard, but there was a chain link fence. And I couldn't lift my legs. But just as I was going towards the trees, because I had the wind at my back, I got hit with another breeze that turned me into. So now I could see where I'm going to land. And it's this guy's backyard. But the strange thing about that was I already had a wind at my back. So how I got another, I must have floated into a cross breeze, or somebody was
It could
looking
have
out for me.
been
You know what I mean?
angels or God. Yeah, it could have been.
Exactly. And because it turned me into the wind now. And now I knew I was going to, make it into that guy's backyard one way or the other. So as I came in, I hit the fence just below my knees, and it flips me over, and I smack into the ground. And, at first, like, all I see, because I have a really tinted visor,
Right.
really dark. And I was like face down. So it was really dark. So I don't see anything but black, right? And I don't hear anything, just silent. Everything is silent. And I actually think to myself, am I dead?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, and it's a reasonable question, really. Um, so I try to move, figuring, you know what? Hey, if I'm dead, maybe I'll be able to move, right?
Right. Yeah.
If I'm dead and conscious, maybe I can move, right?
Right.
So I can't move. So I realize I'm alive. And now I'm like, oh man, I didn't think past that. I didn't think that through, because now I'm really, really screwed.